Sometimes caste Brahmana, he cannot be accepted as a, for since the present body is possible because the Lord is also known as Ūrjasvatī. And then he describes how Lord Vamana appears and takes everything away from Maharaj Bali. The whole universe takes away everything from Shvagaloka down, takes everything from Maharaj Bali. That itself is most amazing. So he's saying that just like that's so amazing, that devotees, they can also do so many amazing things. If they become empowered by the personality of Godhead, then the devotees can do anything. You know, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, he wrote a Vaishnava encyclopedia. It's like 10 volumes, but it's researched. He researched all the Vaishnava acharyas, all the Vaishnava acharyas' teachings, all the Vaishnava holy places, all the different Vaishnava sampradayas, core philosophy of Prabhupada himself. So close to us and so recent that we take for granted what Prabhupada has done. But in years to come, people will look back and go, wow, that was impossible. What Prabhupada did, that was impossible. It's in our time. It's so recent in our time. We don't appreciate. I remember one devotee was saying, we mentioned this before, how Jesus Christ came and gave one book and changed the whole consciousness of the whole planet, changed the thinking of the whole planet with one book. Right? So many great personalities came and gave one book. Foreigners, they have one book, changed the consciousness of the whole planet. So many people came and gave one book and changed the whole thinking of the whole world. And he said, Srila Prabhupada came and gave so many books. How will he change? We already seen, if we are observant, we are already seen how in the last 5 years, 20 years, or the last 50 years of ISKCON, we see how the thinking of the whole world has changed, drastically changed. Simple things like vegetarianism is accepted, reincarnation is accepted, and here being discussed, the law of karma is accepted. It's accepted, universally accepted, even amongst people who don't even believe in God. Right? There are many people in the West, they are atheists. They're atheists. They don't believe in God, but they accept karma. What is that? Right? How can you accept karma and not understand the law of karma comes from God, comes from Bhagavan. It is his law, but universally accepted. So the consciousness of the whole planet has already changed and will continue to change even more. Although unfortunately it's not straight up. It doesn't just get better and better and better. It goes up and then it dips a bit, and then it goes up and then there's a correction. It goes up and there's some. So it's not easy sailing, they say. It's a rough road. It's not so easy. So Srila Prabhupada is making this point. For a devotee, anything is possible. Since the Supreme Lord is all-powerful, he can do things that seem wonderful to a common man. Similarly, a devotee who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord can also do wonderful things, unimaginable to a common man, by the grace of the dust of the lotus feet. So Lord Chaitanya teaches that same thing. Oh, son of Nanda, Lord Chaitanya's prayer to Krishna, I am your eternal servant. Somehow or other I have fallen in the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up. Then Prabhupada goes on, interesting. He's talking about sometimes the caste brahmanas, argue the caste Brahmanas argue that unless one changes his body, he cannot be accepted as a Brahmana. Right? There's an argument. In the Varnashram system, you have 4 Varnas, 4 ashrams. So the 4 ashrams, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So how do you determine? The question is, how do you determine someone's Varna, their caste? So the caste Brahmanas say it is determined by his birth. You're born in a Brahmana family, your father is a Brahmana, that makes you a Brahmana. You're born, your parents are Kshatriya, then you're a Kshatriya. Vaishya, then you're a Vaishya. Your caste is determined by your birth. And the reasoning is by your action, actually. They say that this birth is a result of previous action. So in the previous life, you acted as a Brahmana, though you may have not been, you may have been something, but you acted as a Brahmana. Therefore, in this life, you took birth in a Brahmana family. Therefore, you are a Brahmana. Because of your past activities, karma. Therefore, you're taking birth as a Brahmana. This is their reasoning. And whereas the Vaishnava Siddhanta says that your caste is identified by your work today, how you work. If you work in the capacity and the qualities of a Brahmana, then you are considered Brahmana. And if you work in the capacities of Shudra, then you're considered Shudra, even though you may be born of a higher birth. And we see in the Bhagavatam some examples of Brahmanas that took the role of Kshatriya and became known as a Kshatriya, and sometimes Kshatriyas took the role of a Brahmana and became known by their work as a Brahmana. Prabhupada explains, yes, according to your birth, generally speaking, that will be an advantage. So if you're born in a Brahmana family, then you have a great advantage because you have that sanskar. That sanskar will help you to become a Brahmana. But still, work is to be considered. You may be born in a Brahmana family, have some good sanskars, but then end up being a dacoit and a murderer, and you're no longer considered a Brahmana. Right? Not like that. You become non-vegetarian Brahmana. Doesn't quite fit. I was sitting on Ajmer Road near Mr. Hitesh Garg's office, and just up where we parked the car, there was a non-veg shop, little inside. And one very nice Brahmana man came walking down the road, looking around, and stood in front of our car. Didn't see us sitting in the car. He stood there, looking left, had nice dhoti, kurta. You could see his Brahman thread, looking around, and then went into the shop. Oh, he's gone in the non-veg shop, in the butcher shop. And they were watching him. He was there, chit-chat, ha, ha, ha. Took his bag, put it in his other bag, put that in another bag, looked very Brahminical bag. And then he came out, and then next to the car. Guilty, 100% guilty. And then he went to walk away. So happily, when he walked past our car, then Ramanuja was there, and he brought the window down, and as he walked past, Ramanuja said, Malecha. Oh, I'm Brahmana. So this is not the qualities of a Brahmana. Therefore, Vaishnava Siddhanta says you are ultimately, yes, your birth helps. If you're born in the family of Mr. Agarwal or Mr. Maheshwari, then you're probably going to be a good businessman. Most likely, you're going to have good business sense. It'll be in your blood. Good business sense will be in your blood. But it doesn't mean that you're necessarily a Vaishnava. You may become a nonsense. You may become something else also. So it helps, but ultimately it should be understood from the platform of your activities that you perform. So there's a big discussion. Brahmanism and Vaishnavism, the Siddhanta, the understanding, big difference. That discussion has been going on for a long time, till today. That discussion goes on till today. At one point in the life of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also, there was a contention. The caste Goswamis, they were saying, you are a Brahmana by your birth, and if you're not born a Brahmana, you cannot become a Brahmana. It is our birthright. My father was a Goswami, therefore I am Goswami. Right? In Vrindavan, they say like that. In the Goswami temples, they say, that's how it is. It's a seminal line from father to son. So then they started saying, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur was spreading Vaishnava Siddhanta very strongly. But then they started saying, all this Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, this Nitai and Gauranga mantra, it is also new. It is also new. They didn't accept Gaura mantra. They didn't accept Lord Chaitanya. They said, Gayatri is the mantra. This Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and the mantra Gauranga, it is not, it is something new. It is not eternal in the Veda. It is not there in the Vedas eternally. But the Gayatri mantra, it is there from the very beginning. The first syllables, Gayatri mantra was given to Lord Brahma, the beginning of creation. So they're saying Gayatri is important. And seminal line, Brahmanism. You are Brahmana by birth. These were the 2 points. And it came to a great discussion where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami attended that discussion on whether the name of Gauranga or the personality of Gauranga is an avatar, is the personality of Godhead. And they are saying Gauranga is not the personality of Godhead, he is not an avatar, he is a saint. That's all. And there was a big discussion. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he referred from Atharva Veda. There's some verses where Lord Brahma himself states and mentions the name Gauranga. He mentions this, that Krishna will come in the future, in the Kali Yuga, in the form of Gauranga, with his associate Nityananda. It's mentioned there. Atharva Veda and Svetashvara Upanishad describes the activities of the personality Krishna appearing in the Kali Yuga, and these will be his activities. Those uncommon activities only have been performed by Lord Chaitanya, no one else, so we can understand he's describing Lord Chaitanya. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 11th canto, there's some verses describing the personality of the Yuga avatar for Kali Yuga. What is his mission? Who is obviously Lord Chaitanya. So like that, he was solidifying, making them understand this point that Lord Chaitanya is actually the avatar. He's actually the personality of God had appeared in Kali Yuga. So he confirmed this point, and then he went on to discuss Vaishnavism and Brahmanism and how your caste is accepted by your work, not this concept, by your action. And then going on to confirm the holy name, the power of the holy name. So his whole presentation was basically the holy name over the Gayatri Mantra. Gayatri Mantra will help, but in itself, it needs assistance. Whereas the holy name doesn't need any assistance. In itself, it is powerful enough to take you back to Godhead. So then he began to describe the glories of the holy name. That how even a Chandala, who even once speaks the holy name, is already more qualified than a Brahmana, becomes a Vaishnava. And this whole concept that a Vaishnava is an even higher position, even a higher consciousness than a Brahmana. And he spoke and spoke, and he glorified the Brahmanas, and he gave so many verses to show how the Brahmanas are the topmost leaders of society. He gave every shloka. Of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami had photographic memory. That was one advantage. He would hear once or read once and remember it perfectly. Every single thing. Anything he read, he remembered perfectly. He could discuss on any topic. Astrology, mathematics, history, geography, any topic. He could excel and defeated all the great scholars from all over, sometimes defeating 10 scholars at a time. So perfect was his understanding. So he had every verse from every part of the Vedas glorifying the Brahmanas, how they are the top and leaders of society. And the Brahmanas were sitting, yes, yes, speak more and more. Oh, yes, yes, this boy, he's appreciating. And then he began verses to show how above the Brahman is the Vaishnava. Consciousness of the Vaishnava is even above even that of a Brahman. And they were stunned to hear, they were shocked to hear. And then after he finished speaking, then he said, I am complete. Is there any comment or question? And no one could debate. No one was able to debate because whatever arguments they had, he already used all those arguments. He already submitted all of their arguments and defeated all of their arguments before they got to speak. So there was no one speaking. And then Jayapataka Swami, he describes how it was such excitement amongst the Vaishnava community. So many devotees had come to hear and see Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur speaking. In fact, Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj himself was present in the back of the pandal and listening to hear his disciples speaking. He became very much ecstatic to hear the descriptions of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. And the people became so ecstatic that they began to push forward, that everybody wanted to touch the lotus feet of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. He was on the stage and they were pushing forward and he would not allow. And Jayapataka Maharaj describes how that the whole pandal is beginning to get pushed so hard it's going to collapse. The whole pandal is going to fall over. They're all pushing the stage is going to collapse. So the two big chokidars, two big guards were there. They told to Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj that you give us some water from your feet, and we can throw on the crowd to pacify them. And Bhaktisiddhanta said, I am servant. I am nobody. I am not a guru. I'm never guru. I am servant. I cannot give. So then they took him forcefully, and they forced him, they put his feet in buckets, in the bucket of water, forcefully. Please excuse us. We must do this. Otherwise, there's going to be a big... And they let him, and he released him, and then they threw that water on everybody. And okay, we got some mercy. It was such an amazing scene. You can imagine such an amazing scene. So this point is there. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami established this fact that you may be born in a Brahmin family. It will help you. But Prabhupada says, your father may be a doctor. Gives you a good chance to be a doctor. He will teach you so many things about medicine, but still you have to go to the college and get the certificate. You have to get the certificate. Then you can practice medicine. In the same way, you may be born in a Brahmana and Kshatriya family. You have a good chance, but still you have to practice. You have to get the certificate and practice to be called a doctor, to be called a Brahmana, Kshatriya. Like that. And so the same way, in that same discussion, Lord Chaitanya Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati expresses that the same way, the holy name, and he begins to describe the holy name. It's so powerful, it can purify everyone, even the Chandala, who's addicted to eating meat, a forest hunter who's killing animals unmercilessly, with no mercy. And even they can become elevated to the level of a Vaishnava. It's an amazing thing to hear. Who's the same? In other words, even an untouchable, unworthy person is immediately relieved from the bondage to material existence if he utters the holy name of the Lord even once. That is the power of the holy name. more so in this discussion, more so than even the Gayatri mantra. Right? So how does that happen? Nothing else can purify like the holy name. Right? And therefore, Rupa Goswami describes, you can go to the Ganga and you can take a bath in the Ganga, take 3 drops of water from the Ganga, and you become purified of your sin, some sinful reaction that you have. But there are different types of karma, right? So he describes different types of karma: prarabdha karma, aparabdha karma, sanchitta, sanchit karma. They're the sanchit karma, sanskars. Chit, the consciousness. Some things have not even entered. Right? Describes there are some reactions to previous action that have not even entered into the mind. They have not thought about those things yet. Right? They have not even thought about them. They cannot be purified. When you go to the Ganga, you take a bath, you do some holy pilgrimage, you perform some havan, right? Then certain sinful reactions will be purified. But Prabhupada says, but the desire to perform sinful activity remains. Oh, I drank alcohol, it is a sin. I do some prāyacchad, I am relieved of the reaction of drinking alcohol. But the desire to drink alcohol is still here. Still have that here in the mind and in the heart. The desire is still there. That seed is in the heart, the desire is in the mind. Can't be purified by that action. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that even the desire, by the chanting of the holy name, even the desire to perform unwanted activities is purified. Reaction to actions performed is purified. Right? Whatever sin you have done in this life, you chant the holy name, your reactions are purified. When you go to the Ganga, you get purified. Sorry, not the holy name. You go to the Ganga, you perform some prāyacchad, the reaction is purified. Something happens, you go wrong, something unwillingly you do, unknowingly you perform some mistake, and you do some prāyacchad and become purified. It's like Lord Krishna accidentally, on purpose, killed the bull, Aristasura, but he was a demon in the form of a bull. Right? So that's the Leela. He came as a bull to kill the Lord, and so Lord Krishna killed him. But then Radharani said, "Oh no, he's a bull. You're a big puppy. This is a very big pop. You have killed a bull." And Krishna said, "He's a demon. He took the form of a bull. I didn't kill the bull. I killed a demon." He says, "No, this is pop. You have to do prāyacchad." Krishna, "Oh my goodness, what I have to do?" He says, "You have to go to all the holy rivers. You have to do a pilgrimage, go to all the holy rivers and take a bath to purify from the path of killing a bull." Of course, he's very cunning. Okay, so he just called them all. "Please come." He called all the holy rivers from the universe, it explains. He called all the holy rivers from the universe, and they entered, and he made Shyamakunda in Vrindavan. So Shyamakunda is all the holy rivers of the universe came together like that. But still, that idea was there. You can do some prāyacchad to make up for your sin. You can take bath in the Ganga to balance your sin. But it explains, Prabhupada explains, the desire, the consciousness to again perform sin is still there in the heart. That's the problem. Can't be removed. But the holy name purifies even the desire. Even the desire. Even those things that have not yet fructified in the mind. Those desires in the mind that we all have, those ideas that we have in the mind, they're purified. But even the ones in the heart that are dormant, and we haven't even thought of them yet, even they get purified by the holy name. And then Srila Prabhupada goes on to say, what to speak? Even this material body becomes purified. This body is a direct reaction of pap and punya. We get this body as a reaction to our karma of previous lives. According to our previous life's activities and consciousness, we develop this thought body in this life. So it is a result of sin. Basically, this body is a result of sin. That's what we've got. And it's fixed. Go to anybody, they'll tell you. The astrologer can tell you what's going to happen. It's all written down, all your pap and your punya. And you can't change it. Right? Nothing they can do about it. It's fixed. Nobody can change it. Srila Prabhupada says, but the holy name can even change that. The karma that is your destiny, that is destined when you get this material body. How many breaths you get is written. How many breaths you will get in this life. And when those breaths are finished, then you leave. It doesn't matter how you were feeling, you're healthy or not healthy. When those breaths are expired, then you're expired. And so everything is destined, you can't change it. But it goes on to say, but the holy name, by someone who takes the holy name, even the reactions of this body become changed. The gross body, Srila Prabhupada says, you were supposed to have a car accident and be killed in the car accident. Instead, your arm is cut. Therefore, devotees say, when they have an accident, Krishna saved me. How you got saved? He put you in a car accident. No, my karma of this body is such, I should have died. But the Lord has changed. Even this body has changed. And I only got some small reaction. And here Srila Prabhupada is describing the subtle body also changes. Even the subtle body changes. What is the subtle body? What are the three things? Man, buddhi, ahankara. Right? So you hear that Prabhupada is right. Even the subtle body is changing. When the gross body is changing, not so much the appearance of it, but the reaction to it, the reaction, the karma that it has due is changing. And then the subtle body is also changing. We can't even see or understand the subtle body. The Prabhupada says you have to accept, you have to understand, you have to agree. Authority is telling, even your subtle body is changing. And we can experience that. We can't understand or experience how the gross body is changing, but we can experience how the subtle body changes. Because our mind changes. When you take the holy name, the way you think changes. Right? We feel it, we experience a change. I was like this before, and now I'm like that. I've changed. The way my mind, the way I think has changed. Our intelligence changes because we develop knowledge, and with that knowledge, the way we see the world changes. Everything changes. And then, especially ahankara, many times we have very big false ego. Many times we have zero humility. But then devotees, they practice humility, and they develop humility. Sometimes even themselves, they are surprised. What I was before I became a devotee, the kind of person I was. Recently I was where? Ajmer. One devotee is there. And we were having a meeting and some discussion. And then it was not about anything like this. We were discussing just managing the center and building a new temple and getting some land, just the external parts of Krishna consciousness. And this person, if you see him, he's really rough looking exterior, very big, powerful body. You know, he didn't have sharp ears and pointy teeth, but he looked like, if you saw him in the street, you think, oh, dangerous, demon sort of guy, rough guy, dangerous guy. But here he was in the meeting, and he was very humble and very cool guy. And he just came out, he said, oh, I want to say, before I was a devotee, I was really rough. And I'm thinking, well, you look pretty rough now. He said, I was taking all kinds of drugs. I was injecting heroin, morphine. I was taking drugs. I was smoking ganja. I was taking opium. I was mad. I was beating people. I was robbing people. Whoa. That's what I thought. That's exactly right. So I was doing all these things. And then he was saying, and then this devotee, Chaitanya Charan, he's the manager, Brahmachari. So then this Chaitanya came and gave me Bhagavad Gita. Most of us, if you see someone like that and you're distributing books, forget that one. We won't even go and see a person like that. No chance. We'll already make a judgment. No, I look for a nice person. He doesn't look right. It's like that. We judge. So anyway, he gave him the Gita. He said that he gave me this Bhagavad Gita. Everything changed. He said, I was so angry. I was angry all the time, angry with everyone, always intoxicated. Non-veg, everything, drinking, everything. I said, I was such a bad person. And now, only in 6 months that he got in the Bhagavad Gita, and now he comes to temple every single day to the center. He's such a nice devotee, and he's become so humble. He serves prasadam every time. He serves prasadam. He pays obeisances to every devotee. His whole ahankar is completely changed. So when it says here, the subtle body changes, we can see that. We can see that in devotees. Sometimes devotees are very materialistic and money minded, and they come to devotional service and then it's not important anymore. You can't recognize them, right? They become fully detached. You're thinking, oh, before you were money mad. Now you become fully detached. So we can experience it in our own self, how the subtle body changes. We can see it in others, how the subtle body changes. And Srila Prabhupada is saying, by understanding the subtle body changes, we can also accept the gross body also changes. The reactions due to the gross body also changes by the power of the holy name. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami is explaining. Only the holy name can do this. There's nothing else. There's no kind of yajna. There's no kind of prāyacchad. There's nowhere else you can go that does this. Explains, only the holy name of the Lord can completely eradicate all your reactions to past activities. Only the holy name. So it's very encouraging. And therefore Lord Chaitanya says, there's no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Only the holy name. There is no other way. That's why Lord Chaitanya says it. So therefore it is the root of our activity, of our society, of our consciousness. Everything is based on the holy name. And depending the quality of your chanting, everything depends then on the quality. First begin to chant, bring it up to some standard, and then the rest of your life work on the quality, making the quality better and better. So, interesting verse. If anybody has any questions or any comments. Yeah.
You explained about subtle body. And the question is really in Bhagavad Gita and we read that always mind is criticized. Mind is the enemy and mind is. But we see that mind, ego, and personal, three of them are the main reason that the living entities engaged in this material world. So why the mind is also? Why not this ego and buddhi?
So he says, why is the mind of the three, mind, intelligence, and ahankar, why is the mind always criticized? Right? The mind can be your best friend, it can be your greatest enemy. So why is always the mind, the mind, the mind? Well, firstly, it's not always the mind. The ego, or we should say the false ego, it is also very much criticized. And intelligence is also very much criticized. Material intelligence is also criticized. Many places, intelligence, less intelligent, and materialistic intelligence is also criticized. Everything gets criticized. I think, to me, the ego is more criticized in philosophy than even the mind, because the ego is the main problem. What is the ego? I am this body. That is the false ego. The false understanding is that I am this body. So every single page, Prabhupada criticizes bodily concept of life. So every page, the ego is being criticized, the false ego. But yeah, the mind is criticized because the mind has no discrimination power. That's why it's dangerous. The mind doesn't think, is this right or is this wrong? The only function of the mind is accept or reject. That's all. Attraction and rejection, attraction and rejection. That's all the mind does. It doesn't think, is this good for me? That is spiritual intelligence, good intelligence. Then that discriminates. No, no, very dangerous. Yes, yes, very good. But the mind doesn't do that. So therefore it's very dangerous. And uncontrolled mind. An uncontrolled mind is really dangerous and your greatest enemy because it can send you down to hell. Uncontrolled mind. Therefore it's severely criticized. And a controlled mind is glorified because it can help you focus on a higher path of life. So it can be your best friend, can be your greatest enemy. But it is most useless if it's not controlled. It's very dangerous if it's not controlled. But doesn't mean any intelligence is good intelligence, right? There's also lazy intelligence and stupid intelligence, which is apart from good intelligence. Good intelligence means understanding the position of the soul and the path back to Godhead. Right? We use good intelligence, but there's also materialistic intelligence, which we use to increase our level of sense gratification. That is also criticized. So-called intelligence, Prabhupada says, so-called intelligence, just to increase levels of sense gratification, which also help us go to hell. So it's also no use. Intelligence is supposed to discriminate, not just work out some technology so that I get more free time to enjoy sense gratification, but it's supposed to be used in how to develop higher levels of consciousness. So all three are severely criticized, but the mind is most dangerous if it's uncontrolled, because that's where it starts. It comes in the mind, and then it gets bigger and bigger, and if we don't control it, then it gets out of control. Is that okay? Any other question?
Really, the decision of a person's caste or his varna, it's really mentioned Bhagavatam, it's based on Guna and Karma. But the way, the process, when does it get determined? Is it described in Vedic somewhere that at the age of 6 years, or because you do not find many incidents, the process related things that people end up accepting it as birth.
You want to know the date. You want to know the date and the time that you became accepted as a Brahmana or a Kshatriya.
Process-wise, what's the Vedic process?
What is the Vedic process to understand? Well, a good Vedic astrologer can tell you your varna. He can tell you what you should do in your life to be successful, what will work, what won't work. You get a good Vedic astrologer. So astrology has some role to play. If you want to get married, you should see that, that the two charts are matching, that the married life will be peaceful and work in the same direction. So there is some use in getting the astrology charts done for marriage. There is some use in understanding your varna, what work you should be doing, what sort of nature you have. But it's not that the astrology will tell, yes, he's a Brahmana, he's a Kshatriya. In the Vaishnava Siddhanta, Vaishnava understanding, the Guru will make you understand. The Guru will give you that. Sadhu, Guru and Sadhu, your own research, understanding in your heart, researching inside, you can come to understand. Paramatma will reveal, spiritual master will reveal, but we don't have some, ecclesiastical body that is there and you write an application. What is my varna? And they write back, oh, you're this. It's not like, there's no system like that. It is a subtle system. You understand it in your heart as you practice. It's not so important for us. More important for us is Vaishnava practices, Vaishnava sadhana and siddhanta. So it's not very important for us, but it does help for moving in the material world. It does help to understand. And slowly you begin to understand it. Talking with devotees, they help you understand. And ultimately, spiritual master can reveal, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. Not so simple, but it's not our focus. Our focus anyway is the holy name and this higher understanding. But it's there even in societies that don't recognize Varna and Ashram. Prabhupada said, still it's there. If you go to Russia, communist countries, so-called, doesn't accept God, although it's not true. If you go to Russia, you find many Russian people believe in God. Right? There's a Russian Orthodox church, very strong. So it's not that Russian people don't believe. They also believe in God, but the country is governed by atheistic government. Communism doesn't accept God. Srila Prabhupada said, if you go there, they're not all equal. You find billionaires, Russian billionaires, very wealthy businessmen. You find Russian scholars, right? Philosophers and scholars, rabbinical type, educationists, teaching people. You see all the four Varnas, they just don't accept it. But Prabhupada said it's there. And if you understand the Varnas and the ashram, you can see that they're there. Same thing, in any society, you can see the four Varnas are there, whether the society accepts it or not. But we can see it. Do you know yours?
I was not curious about myself.
Astrology can help. Good astrologer. Vaishnav astrologer. Not the businessman astrologer. They don't have any Shakti. But a Vaishnava astrologer doesn't take any money. Oh, there's none left. None left. Any other question? All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.